that's what you're into.
You got this trail?
I have. It's fun. All right, here we go. We're just gonna have a quick review here of the G-Form knee pads. So I got these about 1 month ago, and before I was rocking the Fox kind of knee warmer type pads. They're very thin, really didn't have much impact resistance to them at all. It was literally just a thin layer of padding. A lot of people have them, they're super common, and I was wearing those for probably about 3 to 4 years, and I would always wear them only on the downhills. I would have a really long pedal up to the top, maybe an hour or so to the very top of the mountain, then have a long descent. So I would never really wear them on the uphills for one primary reason. They're pretty thick, and they would essentially give me rashes on the back of my knee here. So as you can see, I'm wearing these knee pads right now, and they're made out of this thin, really kind of Under Armour type material, and you can see here that it's literally just a sleeve, so there's really good airflow and it doesn't really get hot or saturated on the back of my knee. It's able to breathe really well, whereas on the other pads it was kind of a thicker material, kind of like this sock right here, so it would get saturated with sweat, and then on the back of my knee, as I was pedaling, it would wear into the back of my knee and give me a rash. So I never really wore them consistently, and they would be uncomfortable to wear on long rides. Whereas these G-Form pads are actually incredibly nice. I've been wearing them for, like I said, about a month or so, and haven't had any rash problems whatsoever. And they're really form-fitting and light, and they don't really feel too hot when you're climbing and riding around. I noticed that they do have a little bit of extra heat as opposed to if you just had your bare knees out, but if you're doing some pretty gnarly descents, I think it's definitely worth the rock protection, or just the impact protection. Here, I'll show you a rock right here. My other knee pads, they were just a thin layer of fabric, so a thin layer of padding, so they didn't have much rock protection. They're mostly just so I didn't get big abrasions on my knees. But here's a rock, a little bit of sandstone out in the Santa Monica Mountains here. Beautiful, got the Ibis Ripmo, and I'll just show you a bit of the impact protection. And I'm hitting my knee here pretty hard. I mean, it hurts a little bit, but it's a hell of a lot better than those other knee pads. I mean, I was hitting my knee pretty hard, and if I didn't have that, then I would have fucked up my knee. But I think that they're really good, and I haven't really gone down too hard on them quite yet, so I can't really say much in terms of like actually protecting me from an injury. But so far so good, and I've really been enjoying them, and I've worn them for about on a 3-hour ride or so and pedaling on the road, and they really don't seem to bother me too much at all. But when it's the middle of summer and in Southern California and it's 90 degrees out and the sun's blazing down, it's definitely nice to have the knees showing out and get the airflow. But I just don't really think it's worth the risk of going down and fucking up my knee for, I don't know, a month or so, and potentially hurting my knee. You know, I'm really just trying to ride for the long run, and I just don't necessarily want to take the risk anymore. I sent it too fat a few times and really fucked up my knee and my elbow, and I actually hurt my shoulder. So I've just kind of taken the more conservative approach, and I'm just trying to ride for the marathon instead of the sprint. You know, I'm only 22, so hopefully I have 70 more years of riding ahead of me if I'm eating healthily and riding consistently and not taking too many injuries. So for me, I think that the knee pads are really worth it, and they are an investment. They're about $80 or so, so they're not cheap by any means, but I think that the investment for your health long term is much more worth the short-term investment of getting a pair of knee pads, you know. I'd rather be riding and have decent knees that aren't blown up by the time I'm 70, rather than look cool and maybe take a short-term investment, you know. I mean, you can always make more money, and especially if you have the time, there's tons of ways to make money now. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about the G-Form knee pads. Like I said, they're super breathable, really comfortable. They wash really easily, and especially they dry really easily. If you are going in and out of puddles and shit, or riding in the Northwest, then they dry really easily. They're just this thin material, so they evaporate, especially if there's a bit of heat on them. Whereas some other knee pads can kind of get saturated and then just be a bit gross and uncomfortable for the rest of the ride. So yeah, that's my opinion on the G-Form. Done and dusted. Get yourself some knee pads so you don't fuck yourself up, and you can keep mountain biking for the rest of your life. Cheers.